Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be talking about patch 1.1.4 for Rivals of Aether 2. And originally I wasn't going to be making any content this week because I'm just busy in real life. But of course we're going to be talking about the Rivals patch, especially when the skins are this good. Especially the Loxodont and the Forseburn one. Really like those ones. So code ProofBlock if you are going to be buying this pack. It is an absolute banger. They also updated the training mode, added a bunch of stuff there, which I personally love. This is like the best thing that you can do for the game, in my opinion. They made Etalus a little bit further, and we'll get to the implications of that down the road here. And they also had some general gameplay changes. None of them are super impactful. If you do want to read them, of course, the patch notes will be linked down below. But let's get into these character changes. First off is going to be Zetter. He's got to change to downer, which makes it active for one less frame, and ground and neutral special will no longer stop horizontal momentum. And I think this is honestly like a really nice change for Zetter. You're definitely going to feel this as a Zetter player. I mean, if you were doing running shine, you're going to feel this as a Zetter player. And if you weren't, well, that's definitely a viable strategy now because you are going to keep a little bit of that slide. It absolutely helps him out. And then to kind of, I guess, not compensate for that, I think they were just going to do this, but they made it so that down air now has one less active frame. And this is the approach that I would have taken to nerfing Zetter. I would not have given him this slide, though. He does not deserve that one. Someone on the team plays this character, but I really like this down air change. I think that was a really big problem with Zetter as a character. He would just always try to meteor you back to the ground and just continue looping you over and over again until you actually would get 0 deaths. Now he can still do that, but you just have to be a little bit more precise on the money with that downer, which I think is fine. It shouldn't be a weak tool, it should just be a precise tool. Really quick, I wanted to show that Zetter shine change in game because it might be honestly a little bit better than I was giving it credit, especially considering that you can like run up, sliding shine on someone, and then wave dash away. Like, that is such a strong tool, and I don't know if he needed this one. Next up is going to be Wrastor, and he got nerfed pretty hard in this patch, but also he deserves it, so I can't get too mad about it. They made it so that Slipstream no longer goes into cooldown when Wrastor goes into light or medium hit stun, and this is what they kind of gave him to compensate this change, and I think this is a really nice change for Wrastor. One of the most important things you can really do for this character is have Slipstream up. It makes your neutral that much better, just having that extra momentum and being able to move around. But also, they changed him a lot besides Slipstream. They made it so that his weight is now 71 instead of 75. You are absolutely going to feel this in game. 4 units of change is a pretty significant one. Dash Stack now has 2 extra frames of recovery both in the air and on the ground. And they also made the late and mid hitbox, but specifically more so the late hitbox, a worse combo tool. And I think their main goal here was to make it so it's just a worse confirm into up special, which I definitely agree with. I just don't like dash attack as a confirm into up special at all. In my opinion, that move should just be confirming into like a weak back air or maybe like an up air if you can get a reverse up air. Like a weaker hit, then maybe you can use that second weaker to confirm into a strong attack. I'm okay with that, but just dash attack into strong attack, I really am not a fan of. So now, at least for the late hit, that is no longer going to be as big of an issue. They made it so that neutral hair, the first innermost hitbox, now they changed to the knockback angle. I'd be a liar if I said I fully understood the implications of this one, but you're basically just gonna have a different hitbox now with inside of Nair. There's actually going to be a difference with that inner hitbox of Nair 1 and that outer hitbox of Nair 1, which is awesome for Wrastor players. Should open up some new combo routes, hopefully. And these, I think, are the biggest changes to Wrastor that are going to hurt him. Maybe the weight ones a little more. And then, honestly, I might be undermining this dash attack one, but I feel like these forward air changes really hurt. They made it so the forward air inner hitbox knockback, and this is specifically for the sour spot, oh no, the sweet spot of the move. They made it so it's kill power. It's just a little bit different, and it's kind of weird just because Wrastor, you're usually using forward air off stage as well. You're using it to chain people into the blast zone, so I don't know if this is like specifically going to be killing people earlier or later, but I think it's going to be killing people just a little bit later, but might make it slightly better as a combo tool. But the outer hitbox of forward air just got a really big nerf. This is just an actual sweet spot at this point, not only doing less knockback, but also having a smaller hit stun multiplier. And they also made get special multi-hit knockback angle a little bit different, but who cares about that? I think this forward air change, you're definitely going to feel that one. You're no longer just going to be able to chain weak hit forward air into like a forward strong off stage just really easily. You're actually going to have to get that good hit of forward air in order to edge guard people with maximum efficiency. He's going to be a little bit lighter as well, so you can afford to take as many risks. Your main, I guess, kind of burst option of dash attack isn't as strong as well. So Wrastor kind of got hurt in like every area. He's a little bit lighter, he's a little bit less bursty, even though Slipstream's a little bit better to compensate for that, and then his edge guarding is a little bit worse. So they didn't like kill anything about him, they didn't gut nothing. He's just overall not as good. For Kragg, he just got a bug fix, and he's a bug, get it? Same thing for Fleet. She's just going to get a change with her forward tilt. Next up is going to be Maypul. They made it so that her dash speed has been changed from 18.1 to 22. So that's a pretty big change, but this is just a correction of the overcorrection from the last patch. So She is still slightly slower overall, but she is going to be faster in this patch. Forward tilt knockback has been reduced slightly until around 100%, making it worse at boxing opponents out at low percent. I think this just feels like a buff. Maybe I'm misinterpreting this wrong, and I trust the dev team, but I think this is a buff. Like, it really only helps Maypul to make her forward tilt send, like, less far at lower percents, because it's going to be easier for her to follow up with, like, a neutral air or a down tilt or literally whatever she wants as the Maypul player. Not that everything is confirmed off of forward tilt, but just because her pressure is so good. That's the point I'm trying to get across there. But also, it might make things confirm better off of forward tilt, like a neutral air or forward air and up air might be easier to get now. It may be a little bit too skeptical about this. This might not be that big of a deal at all. But if you're a Maypul player, this is like hardly a nerf. I wouldn't even argue that it's a nerf. Like, yeah, your forward tilt is sending people away at 40%, a little bit less. But also, it's just easier to convert off of now. And then forward tilt's innermost hitbox now is a sour spot. And this is definitely a change. They just made it so. And as you can see, also, I love that they added this for the patch notes. I hope they do this all the time now. Just a super big fan of this. And you can kind of see just right here, there's a little bit of a hitbox that has been added to the forward tilt. So now if you're just like really, really close to Maypul, you're no longer going to get hit with the full strength of the attack, which I do like. You should be like a spacing tool, not just a wins every option tool. So yeah, changes for Maypul. They're not going to hurt her really at all. They're really buffs overall in my opinion. And again, I might be misreading this forward tilt knockback change. Please tell me if I'm wrong, Maypul players, but you shouldn't be too worried about this. Editing ProofBlock, I really quickly just wanted to point out that this forward tilt change for Maypul does make it so that her edge guarding, or rather her ledge trapping with this tool, is a little bit weaker, so you're not going to be sent as far off stage when you do get hit by forward tilt the ledge. So that is going to be nice, but also you're now easier to forward air. Next up is going to be Clairen, and Clairen got hit really, really hard in this patch, like maybe harder than anyone else, and they basically just changed a lot of her tipper hitboxes and visual hitboxes, to be honest. They made it so that the jab middle sour spot hitbox is now slightly bigger, so it's going to be a little bit harder to hit that tipper now. Massive nerf to down tilt, instead of just being like whatever war crime this was. I don't know what they were thinking, and it's now like actually a move that is trying to be a move instead of trying to be a cheating tool. So it's going to be a lot harder, I guess. I don't know if true framing is the tool you would use or a term you'd use in Rivals 2, but stop people from grabbing that ledge. You're no longer just going to be able to spam that down tilt ledge. Well, you still are, but now you're going to have to be like way more precise. They made it so that forward strong hitboxes are a little bit more cleaned up. So as you can see here right now, the sword shouldn't be hitting, it'd be hitting. In the new patch, if the sword shouldn't be hitting, the sword basically is just not hitting. And same thing, it's not hitting as low beneath the ledge as well. And again, this is just going to hurt. It's going to make this move basically come out like a little bit slower. It's not going to be as active because, you know, if I had put my shield up in this scenario, it wouldn't matter because I already would have been hit. But if I put it up in this scenario, I'm fine. Now the forward strong is no longer going to hit me. So that one hurts her a little bit. I don't think it should be like a super significant deal because it's very rare that you're just throwing out a forward strong and hoping that your opponent doesn't shield it. Like usually you'd be confirming into a tool like this, especially when you're playing a tipper character, but definitely hurts. They made it so that the neutral air ASDI multiplier is way lower, so now it's just like no longer going to be falling out of that move, which is good. You know, it should be chaining into itself. They made it so that the forward air hitboxes, specifically the backwards hitboxes, has been reduced, and it's like a little bit awkward to see here, but basically the sword just like doesn't go as far behind Clairen right now. It's like a very minor change. You can kind of see it more with the second hit here because the tipper would like override the normal hitbox here. Now you can still kind of get the normal hitbox, but the tipper is still going to be more prominent in that back hit. Back air now has a new sour spot on the first active frame. This is a massive nerf to back air. Like, I think this is like maybe too much. Maybe the hitbox isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be, but this is a change that you're absolutely going to feel as a Clairen player. Normally, if you be like inside, you're really close to someone and you do a backer, so it just barely hits them, that's like a guaranteed tipper. Editing ProofBlock really quickly, I just wanted to say that what I meant to say is when you do a rising back air, so you're just hitting like the bottom of that move as you were coming up, that was almost a guaranteed tipper. Now when you do that, not going to be as good. That's just specifically what I was talking about. Anyway, back to whatever. Now that might not be the case. Now you might be getting this hitbox right here. So in those situations where you're using back air kind of in a scramble and it could tipper, that's just not going to happen as much anymore. And they also made it so that up air tipper raise upward on the last active frame, which I think makes it so this prevents tipper from hitting opponents far below Clairen. Oh, they just moved this one up. I'm just sorry, brain fart, completely read that wrong. They moved this one up so that this hitbox just does not hit as well lower, which again, it's fine. It should not hit this low. But the big thing that I have with Clairen here. Actually, let me finish reading out these changes. They made it so that up throw startup is a little bit longer as well, so you're going to have more time to react to up throw. They did make it so that up special is now a more stronger kill tool, so that's obviously awesome. You can actually get some kills off the top with up special. The get up special, speed boost, and ground friction increase, whatever, get up special, innermost tower spot now interpolates on the first frame. I mean, thank God it didn't do that before, but I think the big problem that I have with the Clairen changes in this patch is they are nerfing Clairen in the right direction. I like the direction that they are taking Clairen, but now she's just in, like, a bad spot. Right now, I just think Clairen is not in a great spot. Is she the worst character in the game? Not necessarily, but she just feels, like, way worse to play in every single aspect, and she's been given pretty much nothing in return. So, like, as a Clairen player here, this just sucks right now. Like, your next month or two in Rivals of Aether 2 is not going to be as fun. And within the next couple months, Clairen is going to get the changes that I think she needs to maybe compensate some of these changes. So long term, I think these are absolutely in the right direction. Really big fan of them. But for the short term, for right now, I don't like these changes. I think that Clairen needs something alongside of these. You're just making it so all of her hitboxes are a lot smaller. And then just saying, have fun, Clairen players. And again, I want to reiterate that this isn't going to be a situation where Clairen is just bad now. She's going to drop in the tier. She's at most going down like 1 or 2 spots. But the point that I'm trying to get across here is that this is a long-term change. Absolutely, this is a long-term change. It's very similar to the ones that happened earlier with Orcane and Fleet early on in the game, where these were changes where they just wanted to clean up the hitboxes for Clairen. They just wanted to make her hitboxes align more with what they actually should. And that's a good change. I like that, but it's, again, for the long term. For the short term, this just sucks for Clairen players, and they've been giving nothing in compensation, and I do think that the Rivals 2 team could be a little bit better about that, instead of just being like, okay, your character is going to be a little bit in a weird spot now until like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we're going to change it. I would like if they just implemented things all at once. Now, obviously, a lot easier said than done, and they also like to react to how these changes play out. These might not be a big deal at all. The top Clairen players are good at spacing, so they may not even notice these changes, and maybe then if they did buff the character, it would have been way too much. So if you're a Clairen player, you gotta understand it through the perspective of the devs. They don't want to make an overcorrection, but they also want to fix the character. They want things to look how they should look. That's what they've done with Clairen in this patch. Hopefully in the next patch or the next 2 patches, she'll get some things to kind of balance this out. Next up is going to be Loxodont, and they made it so that Loxodont will now lose all Molten Charge if down special is interrupted. And I think this is a great change because it's a very high reward move. I think you should get a pretty high reward if you manage to interrupt it. But again, it's a very long-term change because in the meta, right now, Rivals of Aether 2 doesn't make any sense to nerf Loxodont. Just does not make any sense to nerf that character. But for the state of the game, for just Rivals of Aether 2, as a mechanic, yeah, I do think that down special should lose the charge if you manage to interrupt it. So that's, again, what I'm saying when I'm talking about long-term changes for Rivals of Aether 2. Maybe right now, for the competitive scene, this change is hurting Loxodont, and he doesn't need to be hurt. But for the game, it's better overall. Next up is going to be Orcane, and I really like the direction they took with Orcane in this patch. He got buffs and nerfs, starting off with Neutral Air. They made it so that Neutral Air landing lag has been changed from 7 frames to 9, and Neutral Air recovery is now 16 frames instead of 13. Thank God, this move is unbelievable for Orcane. It was his main combo tool, it was his main neutral tool, it was his main combo ender. Like, Neutral Air just literally did everything. And to be honest, I still think it's going to do literally everything, but now there's just going to be a little bit, I guess, less of it coming out in neutral. There's going to be less frame data behind it. It's not going to be as spammable, which is awesome. Like, a necessary change for Orcane, because this character was like 70% Nair, 30% bubbles, and then nothing else. Back air sweet spot has been changed, so it is now stronger at higher percent, starting around 100. Really like this change, so you're no longer going to be able to cheese people with it, but once you get past that 100% mark, this is just going to be like a kill tool, pretty much. Maybe not necessarily the heavier characters, but you get the point I'm trying to convey here. And Powered Down Strong now does 3 extra damage, so it's now aligned with the other Powered Strong attack, and they made it so that Down Strong now has a little bit less knockback at higher percents, which I think is fine. This move has insane frame data, so I don't think it should be killing as early as it is. This change, love. They made it so that Empowered Force Special no longer goes into Special Fall on Whiff. So now, as the Orcane player, you can use Side B on the puddle, just like right above the ledge is where you'll be as Orcane, because I think that's kind of, I guess you could do it off a platform as well, but regardless, you're going to be above your opponent likely, but you get to choose the timing or the spacing of where you want to come out, and even if you don't hit them with that initial coming out of the side B, you can then drop with a back air, or not a back air, I guess you could with a back air, but a neutral air would probably be what I recommend. Up air as well if you want to try to get a cheeky spite hitbox as well, but you'll still have your resources as well. So this is going to make Orcane's edge guarding a lot better because he's just going to be able to pretty much pick a position off stage that he can just drop himself from with a neutral or with a down or whatever tool that he wants. And you're not going to have to puddle on stage, so it might be like a little bit risky making it back, but you should pretty much be making it back like every single time there. So it just gives Orcane an extra tool that he can now use to edgeguard people, which I think is awesome. Like, that's an amazing change for him. Gives him more creativity as well. Really, really big fan of that. And they made it so that forward throw knockback has been changed, so it slightly increases the power of that, as well as the empowered forward throw. So it's now going to be a little bit better, and empowered forward throw also does a little bit more damage. Now, really, really like these Orcane changes. They address the main issue that the character had, because this was easily the main issue that the character had, but to compensate for that, they also gave him some other stuff. If they take this approach with every character, you would have no problems ever. But of course you still would. Because if there's one thing people love to do, it's complain. But I don't think they'll be complaining about these Forseburn changes. I do think they are pretty good. They made it so that the forward air knockback angle has been changed from 65 to 60, and this just makes it so if you're DIing out, you should be able to escape it a little easier, which I think is great. That's how you should be nerfing a move like forward air, in my opinion. They made it so that down air, front, and spike hitbox has been changed, so it does 2 less damage, so it's a little bit weaker on shield, but also just does less damage because you hit down air a lot as Forseburn, and it should not be hitting that hard, in my opinion. So definitely agree with those changes. They also made it so it's a little bit weaker at higher percents, the spike hitbox specifically, and they changed the downer innermost hitbox. It's like this diagonal one right here that you can kind of see. It now just like goes more straight. I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal. It might. I don't think it will be, though. This one definitely will be, though. Clone cooldown has been changed from 2 seconds to now 3 seconds. So in those situations where you get hit off stage and you already use your clone, sometimes if you had smoke off stage already, you'd be able to stall long enough to actually get your clone back, get that wall back, get back to stage. But now it is going to be a little bit harder to do that. You're going to have to stall off stage for a whole 3 seconds. You better have a lot of smoke out there. So this is the change you'll absolutely feel as Forseburn. You'll definitely feel these downer changes as well, but he's not like gutted by these by any means. He's still very strong. And the final changes are going to be to Etalus, and praise Jesus, they buffed him. And they buffed him good. Let me say, I like these changes a whole lot for Etalus. So first things first, max horizontal jump speed has been changed from 17 to 15.5. That obviously sucks. You're not going to be as fast when you're jumping around, except max horizontal jump speed when dash attacking has been changed from 17 to 18. So this is awesome. This is so awesome for Etalus. This just makes it so that using dash attack and the jumping is just making it a better movement tool than it already was. And it was already a solid movement tool. It's not going to be like crazy out of control now. Etalus is broken, but it is going to make him a lot more fluid. I just really like it. Neutral special made it so it does 10 more damage. You know, again, whatever. A neutral special changes, they shouldn't mean anything to anyone because you should never be getting hit by neutral special if you are competent. The falling and landing hits of down special can now both hit a shielded opponent. I guess it couldn't before, but now it can. Special pummel will now freeze opponent. This is just a doubles thing. They made it so that jab 2 now has 5 extra frames of recovery, and jab 3 has 2 extra frames of recovery. This isn't going to matter at all because jab is awful. Like, Etalus jab is so bad. I don't honestly know why they nerfed this move at all. It doesn't confirm into anything. It isn't strong. The move is just bad. Like, you never ever use jab 2 or 3 as an Etalus player, so you're really not going to feel that one. Like, maybe the jab 2 one a little bit, but the jab 3 one. Like, if you're ever using Etalus jab 3, stop and start doing something else. They made it so that dash attack speed boost has been increased as well. So not only are you faster jumping out of the dash attack, but the dash attack itself is faster, and ground friction has been increased when it's not on ice as well. This keeps the travel distance on his normal dash attack around the same as it was before, which doesn't honestly make sense to me because he's getting a speed boost, so I feel like he would be going further. But whatever, it's just the same now when he's not on the ice as it was before. So obviously, that's going to be nice for him. Dash attack recovery window can now be jump canceled during the first 10 frames. Again, it's just way better as a movement tool. Now you can pretty much just like dash attack and instantly jump out of that thing. You can use dash attack just as a movement tool, which is awesome. Dash attack recovery window can now be jumping. I just said that. Forward strong has a bit of a change, so it's now a little bit stronger at higher percent. Again, that's a good change for forward strong. It doesn't fully connect itself always, but when it does, it is going to be hitting a little bit harder, which I definitely like. Down throw now has more unique knockback when armored. I'll have to play Etalus a little bit when he's actually armored to see, but hopefully this will make it so down special is actually a little bit of a combo tool now when he has the armor on. That's definitely going to be cool. And finally, Etalus will have normal friction when the knockdown start and parry state, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. You're not really going to feel this, so I guess you won't be sliding around now if you were before, but these changes to dash attack are so good for Etalus. I really like the direction that they took with it. I still think he's clearly the worst character in the game, but they might have helped him out way more than I'm thinking. Really quick, just wanted to give you guys a visual of these dash attack changes because they are so impactful. Like, with no ice, look how much distance I'm covering as this guy already. Like, he is actually insane, immediately being able to jump out of it as well. And then, like, you know, with ice on the ground, obviously it's going to be like, woo, he's an actual race car. So these changes for Etalus are great. So we've got our post-patch tier list. You're going to have the meta tier characters that really didn't get changes, or the character changes are just inconsequential. You're going to have Loxodont in his own little tier because he did get nerfed, but it was so very slightly, so inconsequential that I'd be a big baby if I put him in the bad tier, but I don't like that he got nerfed. So this is where he's going. Clairen, I don't like the changes for Clairen. Again, I think they're in the right direction. I agree with making her hitboxes more aligned with what they should be, but I do wish that she was given something to compensate. She just feels like she's getting given the short end of the stick here in this patch, which is never a good feeling. You're gonna have the good tier. Initially, I had Zetter actually in this tier, honestly, because I was just salty that they gave him a buff to Shine. But after using Shine a little bit, it's actually so much fun. But it feels more fluid now. I don't know how to describe it other than that. You just feel so much more fluid as a veteran player when you do use that approaching Shine. So because of the quality of life change for Zetter players, he is going to go in the good tier. I also like the change to Downer. I think that was a good change. Definitely the one that the change that I would have made with him. So he's going to go in the good tier despite getting a little bit of a buff. Like the change that they made to Downer as well for Forseburn. I think that's his most over-centralizing move, so making it weaker is absolutely fine. Wrastor, I like Wrastor. It wasn't like insane specifically what they did to Wrastor. This is exactly how I would have done it. Perfect job. But the fact that they nerfed Wrastor but didn't go absolutely ham on it, I really, really like. He's still in an amazing spot. The things that are good about him are still good, but they're not as strong now. He's just a little bit weaker in most areas, which I think is good. I like the change for Wrastor. Orcane, love it. In fact, Orcane, I think, should be the #1. I am such a big fan of these Orcane changes. You're addressing his main issue with Neutral Air, but you're not making him a lot weaker because Neutral Air is so important for him. You're giving him other tools. Really, really big fan of this, and really big fan of this for Etalus as well. He just feels so much better moving around now in neutral. He's in a race car with that dash attack. It's actually so insane. And again, I still think he's the worst character in the game. I don't think he's going to be good, but it absolutely is a step in the right direction. He's definitely going to be helped out from this. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The sport has been absolutely unreal. If there's anything I left out, got wrong, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.